Many women don't realize that most men are actually quite scared of being rejected. It's why they want to make sure that you're interested in him. So when you do things like you don't text back, you never text first, or you spend too much time looking at your phone rather than talking to him, he's going to start backing away because he thinks you're not interested. So if you don't want that to happen, you have to start reciprocating.
Here's why a lot of modern women don't need to get married. They don't want to compromise. They do not see faults in themselves. They want a complete package, but they ain't a complete package. It is not always about how you feel. Feelings change. You cannot make decisions on a feeling. Not good at meeting anyone else's needs but their own. I say this all the time. Selfish people do not need to get married. It requires sacrifice, and it's not gonna always be about you.
I saw a guy looking at me at the gym today. We were smiling at each other, so I smiled back. And then I just said, and I went over to him and I was like, hi, my name is Tosh. It's great to meet you. Your sweats look like they're kind of bulging. No, it's not gonna happen, guys. Like, you have to go up and talk to her. Girls aren't gonna come and approach you. If anything, girls don't get approached nearly as much as they should anymore. Like, even worse than before. Like, it already was a problem and now it's even worse. If you approach a girl, the least that will happen is that she'll just feel good that a guy approached her that day. Like, you just did her a compliment. And if you want easy lines to say when you're approaching a girl, check out my page. I have the best ways where you won't come off creepy. Honestly, I have ways that you won't really get rejected. So yeah, I got you, daddy.
No, she's actually right. A lot of men stopped approaching because they got tired of the risk versus the reward. You put yourself out there, you get labeled creepy, you get rejected in front of people. So yeah, most men just stop trying. She's pointing out the reality that approaches have gone down, and she's not wrong about that. If you're willing to take that shot, at least you made her day.
No one talks about how intimacy affects everything in your marriage. And no, I don't just mean what happens in the sheets. I'm talking about the kind of intimacy that lets your body relax. The kind that makes you feel chosen, safe, seen, and supported. Because when intimacy feels strong, life feels different. Stress does not hit as hard. Confidence comes back. Motivation returns. You show up better, not just at home, but everywhere. A man who feels deeply loved stands taller. A woman that feels emotionally secure finally can breathe. Communication flows easier. Defensiveness softens. Arguments don't have the same grip. When intimacy is nurtured, resentment has a lot less room to grow. Marriage feels lighter, stronger, more connected. You stop surviving side by side and start building a life together. This is not about performance, it is about presence. It's choosing closeness in a world that constantly pulls marriages apart. Because when love feels safe, life feels possible. Intimacy creates momentum in marriage, and that momentum changes everything.
What's going on, fellas? Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. Let's get back to the video.
And I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you want to be a wife in the future or a spouse, it does not matter how good you are in bed or how well you throw down in the kitchen or the fact that you're OCD about being the best cleaner in the world. All those things don't matter if you don't know how to apologize, if you don't know how to pick your battles, if you don't know how to speak life into someone, pray over someone, prioritize someone, if you're unwilling to compromise, if you have an attitude problem. The best part about marriage is being able to build and grow with someone else. Try not to focus too much on like superficial things, because it's truly the ability to connect with someone in an intangible, spiritual way that makes you the partner for them. The reason why no one compares to my husband has nothing to do with his physical attribute. He drives me to work every day. He remembers to clean my scrubs if I'm late on laundry. He encourages me to pursue my goals. If he says he's going to do something, he does it. No questions asked. The most reliable human being I've ever met. And it's our words and actions that we've built over years that will always make him a priority in my life. Basically, being in a relationship is a lot more about developing with someone and collaborating than it is about being performative or trying to be a specific archetype of something for someone, you know? Just my humble opinion.
A lot of men in this generation talk about wanting a woman who brings something to the table. But when they find a woman who is actually independent, they feel like, oh, she's masculine. She don't need me for anything. But the minute that woman tries to depend on him, either he don't got it or he can't match the type of lifestyle that she's used to. So they get mad at you for being independent and having things together to the point where they can't keep up with you. But they will also get mad at you if you depend on them and you don't have the same amount of money as them. They start to look at you like, oh, well, what you bring to the table? I can't date no woman who ain't got an income and who can't go 50-50 with me. Make up your mind, sir. And I'm starting to realize that this issue is not a woman issue. It's the issue of ego, because it's like you damned if you do, you damned if you don't. It's a double conundrum. If I'm independent, I'm making too much money, or I can't afford that woman, she's too high maintenance, or nah, she ain't her masculine. And if I'm too dependent on my man, nah, I need a woman that brings something to the table. Baby, you're the problem.
A lot of women don't actually want to support their husband. They want the certainty, the control, and reassurance. And when they don't get it, they call it their standards or their intuition. You say you want a strong, decisive man, but the moment he makes a decision that you wouldn't make, you start questioning him. You ask 100 follow-up questions. You remind him of maybe past mistakes that he's made, and you subtly imply that you can do it better. And honey, that is not support. That is fear disguised as concern. And psychologically, men do not thrive under constant evaluation from you. A man cannot lead where he feels watched, corrected, or tested literally every step of the way. Respect is not optional for a man. That is his lifeline. It's his oxygen. And every time you micromanage him, compare him to other men, bring his failures into current conversations, you chip away at his confidence. And then you wonder why he shuts down, avoids, or just stops trying altogether. And here is kind of a hard truth. A man will never rise in a relationship where he feels like he is constantly trying to pass an exam or a test. Supporting your husband means trusting him, even when the outcome isn't guaranteed. It means allowing him to fail without shaming him. And it means backing him publicly and having high standards for his possibility. And it means understanding that leadership develops through responsibility, not through control. If you don't trust him, don't marry him. If you don't respect him, love alone is not going to save the relationship, because no man can become strong in a place that constantly makes him feel small.
Why are men so affected by admiration or appreciation?
I would say because of that productivity versus connectivity.
So also like linked to providership?
Yes, and we should visit that. Procreate, then protect, then provide, which is before gender, before human, before all that. But yes, it's linked to being productive, usually in order to provide. But if you think about how a human being is going to be able to be the most productive, if they're trusted and respected. That's how you get to be part of a team. That's how you get to go on the big game hunt. If you're not trusted and respected, you're chasing bunnies by yourself, and it'll never get any better. So experiencing being trusted and respected is a source of security for a man. And if, for example, a man is married and his wife keeps making sure he knows that she does not admire him, that she does not respect him, that he's not worthy of respect, then everything he's poured into what he's building, has been building with her, isn't safe. It's now in jeopardy.
Nah, that's right. She's saying something real here. A man needs to feel trusted and respected to actually function. That's not ego. That's how he's wired to contribute. But a lot of modern relationships, the wife's actively communicating the opposite, and then she's confused why he checks out mentally. He's already gone. You can't build with someone who's actively undermining what you're building.
I just came to the realization that, like, if you're 40 years old, you're never gonna find love. Like, oh my God. Sorry, I woke up like really, really emotional because I was married for, oh my God, I need to stop. I was married for over 20 years, and like, I was so used to being a wife. Like, I loved being married, you know? Like, I love being a wife. I love having like that one person I love coming home to and like venting all my to. And now it's like, yeah, you date people and like sparks fly, and then it's just like, oh, I found better, you know? I was talking to my ex again, and a TikTok follower that messaged me, and she said, hey, I started talking to this guy, and I noticed on his Instagram, like those highlight reels, you were in one of his highlight reels, like you guys made a TikTok together. And I was like, oh yeah, that's my boyfriend, because we were like trying to work things out. It was long distance, whatever. And she's like, oh, well, we're talking. He said he was single. And I'm like, I'm not even crying about that. I think I'm just more sad about the fact that, like, it's impossible. It's impossible to find someone that you will 100% trust. And we still have my seatbelt on.
80% of divorced women go on to be side chicks to married men.
I'm 31 years old and single, and I recently deleted all of my dating apps. And one goal I had for 2026 was to actually approach men more. Because I'm not on dating apps, the only way I have to meet people is by going out. But I think it's an unrealistic expectation for me to think that it's only a guy's job to come up and approach me. So I'm happy to report that I actually approached a man last night. And let's talk about what I said, what I did, and what happened. Last night, I was out to dinner with one of my girlfriends, and I saw this guy walk in, and I go to my girlfriend, I go, oh, he's handsome. I saw him go sit at the bar by himself, and I was kind of waiting for someone to come and join him, and then no one ever joined him. So I said to my girlfriend, I go, I think he's here alone. And we waited about 30 minutes to confirm that. And then what I also did, and I highly recommend this, is I asked my waitress, hey, do you know him? Has he been here before? Has he ever brought a girl in here? Because I had no idea if he was single or not. And luckily, our waitress had some intel. She overheard him say to someone else that it was his first time here, and the gentleman he was talking to at the bar was a regular. So it did confirm that he was there by himself. So what did I do? What did I say? I said to my girlfriend, once we were done with dinner, I'm gonna go over and give him my business card. And before going over, I kind of had a game plan as to what I was going to say. This way, when I got over there, I wasn't thinking of something to say. So what I did was I walked over, and the first thing I said was, excuse me, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I just have to say, I think you are so handsome. And in case you're single, here's my number, here's my business card, and slid my business card onto the table. And I said, but I have to run because my girlfriend's outside, but it's so nice to meet you. I'm Bridget. He introduced himself. And I said, well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And then I just walked outside and met my girlfriend. And about an hour later, he texted me. And when he texted me, he said, hey, it's blank from the restaurant. And I answered and I said, oh, I guess this means you're single. Which he laughed and said, yes, it does mean I'm single. And I said, that's great news. And then he asked me what I was up to right then and there, and I told him, and turns out he was across the street with his friends grabbing a drink. So my friend and I went and met his friends. So ladies, shoot your shot, delete your dating apps, go out to dinner solo, and start shooting your shot. Like, it is not as scary as you think it is, and you can make it as quick and easy as sliding your number saying, hey, I think you're handsome. If you're single, text me. That is it. But honestly, you have nothing to lose by shooting your shot, because what's the worst case scenario? They don't text you back, or they're in a relationship. All right. So I'm glad I just printed 1,000 of my business cards last week, because I will continue handing those out.
You know, a lot of these modern women like to say that men aren't the way they used to be anymore. You know, stuff like chivalry is dead. No, it's not dead. It's just chivalry doesn't really work for you guys. Like you guys, I think there was a clip there, you know, Hillary Duff or something like that was saying when she first got divorced, she wanted, you know, a chaotic relationship and a toxic relationship. And instead of, honestly and truly, instead of going through a phase like that, that's where a lot of modern women, they go there and they stay there. Instead of saying, man, I might have dated one chaotic man after my divorce or after a breakup, they continue. Number one, they continue in that chaotic relationship for years. For years. Number one. Number two, even if they get out of that chaotic relationship, they go into another one, and they over and over again. Chaos after chaos, drama after drama. And they be passing, the good man just be looking at him like, hey, and it's not like the man ain't even saying anything. The man will look at him and say, hey, that's toxic. Don't go. Shut up. I don't want to hear you. You say you nice, but you ain't it. And they'll keep on running past the good guy until they have 3 or 4 baby daddies. You know, I guess I see what you were saying now. Man, get the heck out of my face.
4 questions to ask your partner before you decide to marry them. Because you're locked in for life, my friend, so buckle up. People love to romanticize marriage, but what actually keeps it together isn't love. It is alignment, shared values, emotional maturity, and the ability to have uncomfortable conversations before the ring ever hits the finger. Question 1, how much debt do you have? And why? Don't skip this. Finances break more marriages than infidelity ever will. And if you're a man, you need to ask her, who do you think is responsible for that debt? And what is your plan to pay it off? Because if her answer is you, or if she avoids the question entirely, you've just met your first red flag, my friend. Money is a mirror of discipline, mindset, and accountability. And you cannot build a future with somebody whose finances are reckless. Question 2. What are your political values? You might think it doesn't matter until it does. Politics shape worldview. They determine how somebody sees leadership, gender roles, family, and morality. So if your values completely oppose each other, you will never build a team. You're setting up a debate stage in your own home. If politics are important to you, make sure not to marry somebody who sees the world through the opposite lens. Question 3. What are your religious or spiritual beliefs? How strong is your faith? Is going to church important to you? Do you pray, meditate, or believe in energy or God? Because when life gets hard, and it will, faith is often the anchor that holds people together. If one person believes deeply and the other mocks it or minimizes it, you're in for a lifetime of friction and tension. This is not about perfection. It's about shared direction. And question 4, are you open to a prenuptial agreement? Most emotionally mature adults see the practicality of a prenup. It's not about expecting divorce, okay? It's not. It's about protecting what existed before love entered the picture. A prenup doesn't mean you don't trust your partner. On the contrary, it means you both are secure enough to have adult conversations about reality. If somebody gets defensive or turns it into a why would you plan for failure, that's not romance. That is ego. And ego destroys marriages faster than money ever will. So men, if you're a good man, you lead with integrity. If she can't handle this talk without spiraling, run for the hills. That is not partnership. That is emotional instability. Marriage isn't for the faint of heart, guys. It is not a fantasy. Far from it. It's a contract between 2 people who are willing to face the truth, not avoid it. So before you say I do, make sure you've already said let's talk about these 4 things, because the couples who last aren't the ones who avoid these hard conversations. They're the ones who have them before they walk down the aisle. Thank me later.
Here you go. I'm sorry, I'm already taken. What?
All I'm saying is if you have a boat this summer, I have a throat. I think we can work out an arrangement.
Anybody want to go half on a boat? Anybody? Like, I mean, it could be a rowboat. I didn't hear any specifications or anything. Anyway, I mean, if you're interested, you can just hit up my DM. We can possibly crunch some numbers. Okay. Summertime coming up though. So everybody need to act fast.
Yeah, this is actually a solid observation about modern dating dynamics. He's basically saying if you want access to his time and energy, there's got to be something in it for him, some kind of mutual benefit or arrangement. That's just basic reciprocity, right? No more one-sided effort where a man's just out here providing value with nothing coming back. That's the shift happening now.
Any single ladies over here? Sometimes I wish I was just
okay. Your husband's hot. How long have you guys been married? What did he do wrong today? He works too much. I'm sure you're not complaining when you're sitting in that plush home, are you? Those highlights aren't going to pay for themselves. And you have bangs, and I know you have to fucking cut those every 3 weeks. That is not cheap either. Okay? Can you say thank you to the hubby?
55% of men haven't approached a woman in the last year, yet 75% of women wish they were approached more. This disconnect is your opportunity. A woman could have 1,000 matches in her phone, her Instagram DMs could be flooded, but when you stop her in the middle of the day and you're face to face with her, you'll have her full attention. That alone makes in-person more powerful than any other method, because even if you match and message a woman on an app, you're still being multitasked like everything else going on her phone. She's swiping and messaging other guys at the same exact time. If just one guy beats you to the punch with the right message, your chances with her are gone for good. And our internal client data shows that if a man has a 10 out of 10 dating profile and 10 out of 10 in-person skills, he'll more often meet and date more attractive, higher quality women in person, precisely because he's skipping the competition and making a stronger, more impactful first impression. If you want to learn how to get 1 to 3 dates per week with girlfriend quality women, comment the word flirt below and I'll send you my free video showing you exactly how.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The disconnect is real. Most women want to be approached, but most men have stopped trying because the risk reward just doesn't make sense anymore. In person cuts through all the noise. You're actually there, and that matters. But here's what people miss. A lot of men know this already. They've just decided the rejection and the social risk ain't worth it anymore. That's the actual problem.
We only dated for 6 months before we got married.
Let's go.
Men really have 3 categories for women. There's the fun girl, the maybe, and the wife. You know what I'm saying? Fun girl is like, hey, I might smash, kick it with you, but I don't really want to do much more than that. The maybe is, maybe I'll marry you. And then there's wife. The reason why we didn't date that long is because she fit into that wife category. I'm like, she ain't no fun girl. She's too special to just be a fun girl. And she wasn't a maybe because I'm like, man, I'm not going to do better than her.
So, you think you want to do better than me?
Yeah, I can't do better than you.
That's sweet.
So I wifed her. You know what I'm saying? I don't need to date you for 19 years to know I want to marry you. I could date you for 6 months. And honestly, we would have got married sooner. We didn't have the bread. We had to stack up some money. We would have got married sooner. But yeah, 6 months. That's all I needed. They say when you know, especially for men, when you know. And when I picture the rest of my life and I picture the future, I see her. And when I picture a future without her, that future's gray. Well, I want the future in color, baby.
Touch your husband as soon as he walks through the door after work, before the kids get his attention, before dinner pulls you back into the kitchen. That first moment home sets the tone for the rest of the night. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Just meet him, give him a hug, a quick kiss, a hand on his chest, whatever feels natural. You would be surprised how much it means to a man who's been grinding all day to walk into a home where he's immediately wanted. Because if we're being honest, it's easy to slip into the habit of barely looking up, saying hey, and moving on with our own chaos. But those 5 seconds of affection when he gets home, tell him, you are safe here, you are loved here, and you are more than a paycheck. So touch your husband first thing when he gets home. It is one of the simplest ways to strengthen your marriage.
Can somebody explain something to me, please? I want to know where all of the good men have gone. Where are all of the chivalrous men? Where are they? Because I just went into Circle K with a stroller, right? And there was nobody around except for the guy at the counter. And he's just staring at me as I'm struggling trying to get through the entrance. Struggling. Because there's no handicapped, push button where it opens. And I'm just trying to get the stroller in there. And he's just staring at me. And then to top it off, another man walks in as I'm walking out of Circle K, watches me struggle again getting out of Circle K as I'm opening the door and trying to push the stroller through. What is going on? Where have all the good men gone? Where? Why? I just don't understand. There's no like kindness anymore. Where has all the kindness gone? I don't know. I don't know what to say. You guys have a good day. Hopefully better than mine. Bye!
Yeah, so here's the thing. A man's not going to jump in if he doesn't know you, doesn't know your situation, and can't read whether you actually want help or not. You're a stranger with a stroller at a gas station. He doesn't know if stepping in gets him thanked or accused of something. That's the world we're in now. Kindness got replaced with caution because the cost got too high.
Hey, y'all, come look at this.
There's not a big pool of good men.
That's a lie.
That's not a lie.
That is a lie.
That's not a lie. You tell me.
Listen, there's not a lot of good men who want y'all. I'm clapping for myself. Where the good man at? Like they hiding under a rocker in a cave. They everywhere. They at the gas station. They at Costco. They at Equinox. They at the bank. They walking right past you and you don't show up on their radar because of the way you are. They're going to walk right by you. Your pretty face ain't going to go too far because everybody's pretty. That's a prerequisite. So if that's all you got to offer, we're not looking at you. But there's plenty good men. They just don't want you. I ain't never heard no woman say, I know I ain't. When have you ever heard a woman admit to not being? She'll say, this man ain't, he was bad, he was bad. But for the most part, every woman think they're a good woman. What makes you a good woman? Who's auditing that you're a good woman? You are auditing yourself. Why don't you ask your exes what they think? Because all your relationships diminished and ended in turmoil. Ladies and somebody.
I can finally just exhale.
That's what you can have. Yeah, within 20 minutes.
She put hot coffee. She threw hot coffee on no girl. Let me see. I want to ask y'all this. Why when people like do something to somebody, like throw hot coffee or hit somebody or throw something at somebody, why they try to walk off? Like that just didn't happen. A girl threw the hot coffee, but she walked away. I'd be rat on her with the whole pot of coffee back there. You know what I mean? You're not gonna throw something on me and then expect to walk away like it didn't happen. You know what I mean? Like, well, it didn't happen, so I'm just gonna walk away. No, we ain't playing that game. Let's watch it one more time.
They're over and out. That's what you can have. Yeah, within 20 minutes.
Now she finna go to jail for assault. And depending on how hot that coffee was and the burns, and you're gonna have medical bills, and now you probably finna catch a felony over argument, man. I don't know who loaded these videos up today, but this was a wild show, man.
Men are not going to keep switching to become more like women to please women who aren't going to accept us like women.
Okay. All right. And with that being said, there should be rules and regulations.
Let's start with the first rules. How tall are you?
How tall am I? I'm 5'8".
Dress size?
16.
All right. You broke the first rule right there. I don't know what you think you're talking about, that a man shouldn't cheat or whatever. When you broke the first rule, that men want women who are fit. You weighed more than a man at your height. True or false? And how much do you weigh?
220.
I weigh 210 and I'm 6'4". You broke the first rule. See, you ladies don't mind breaking the rules. The men are visual. I'm sorry, you're 5'8"?
I'm 5'8".
You're about the size of Emmitt Smith or Barry Sanders was. You're running back size. You can hit the A gap like a...
Yeah, all right. I accept.
So don't come in here talk about what men should not be able to do when they got to accept somebody who can run out the power I.
Okay.
Well, I'm being silly because to make a point that modern women are so full of righteous indignation, what you are and ain't going to accept and all this other kind of stuff, when you're not even what most men want.
Look, she's making the actual point right there. Men got standards, women got standards. That's how it works. But what you can't do is come in with a whole list of demands when you're not even meeting the basic stuff men are looking for. That's the disconnect. You want him to be a certain way, but you're not willing to be what he's actually attracted to. That's where it falls apart.
The bar is actually in for us single women. I went to take my dog out tonight and I noticed a young man in front of his car, seemingly waiting to pick up a date. So I thought, I got back from taking my dog out. It had been 10 plus minutes at this point, and he was still standing out in front of the car. The whole time I was taking my dog out, I was like, oh my God, Chivalry's not dead. What a gentleman. Like, this is why I'm not settling, because that is what every woman deserves, for a man to be waiting to open your car door. Of course, me being nosy, I was like, are you waiting on a first date? And he was like, no, I'm a chauffeur. And I said, oh, I was hoping Chivalry wasn't. And he said, but if I were, this is how I would greet her. So yeah, you know what? I'll talk, no action, buddy. But then I watched another grown man hug a woman that he was definitely picking up for a date. And then he proceeded to walk to his own car door and open his door, but not hers. Oh, so the bar is in because I'm sitting here the whole time. Like, it made my day. I was just sitting there thinking, oh my God, this young man, he's about to open the car door. She's going to be so excited. That's amazing. That's so sweet. Like, everyone deserves that. And then no, he was just a chauffeur. Oh, also a man completely opened a door in front of me today, walked through and let it close on me, in Palm Beach. So yeah.
Have you ever noticed how men conveniently have no idea what patriarchy is? They don't believe it exists, and they don't believe that it impacts their lives in any way until the subject of money is brought up. Until it is suggested that they actually have an obligation to show up in any way, shape, or form in the lives that they are choosing to live, in the relationships that they are choosing to have, and then suddenly it's gender roles are bad, patriarchy's bad. You just want the parts of patriarchy that benefit you. The only thing that's really feminist is 50-50. And I just find it so hilarious how transparent that whole mindset is. Yeah, of course, being the gender that has lived in a system that has been artificially rigged in your favor for centuries, it doesn't feel good to change that. But can we all just address the elephant in the room real quick here? Women's liberation is not going to be achieved by women who have been systemically disadvantaged for centuries giving more in order to participate in the thing that has been oppressing them for centuries. Are you seeing the confusion there? Are you seeing what doesn't make sense yet? Because if women have been disadvantaged historically, didn't have access to money, were required to do all this unpaid labor, were not compensated for their labor, fixing that problem does not look like women also contributing the only thing that the advantaged group has had to contribute, and the advantaged group then not having to contribute anything. That's not actually ending patriarchy, that's continuing it, that's strengthening it, because what patriarchy says is that men don't have to do anything or contribute anything because they are entitled to things like women and a legacy and resources. Do you see it now?
Men don't like to be friends to women. In my experience dating, I've come across 3 different kinds of men. There are men who seem like decent men, but there's really no reason for us to ever talk again. We really have nothing for each other. And then there are men who I find actually very interesting, but nothing romantic. Believe it or not, there are men who hold your pearls. There are men who are actually really intelligent. and funny and a lot of fun to hang out with. And I really just want to enjoy their company a little bit once in a while. So these men, I'll turn them down gently and say, you know what, I'm not really feeling a romantic connection here necessarily, but I really like you as a person. Why don't I give you my number anyway and we'll hang out sometime? And they almost always go for it, but they never contact me. And if I reach out to them, hey, you want to do lunch? No, crickets. And sometimes I get men that I am very attracted to, and I would not mind being a little bit more than friends, but they're not in that space with me. Either they're not attracted to me or usually they're just not ready for a conscious relationship, if you know what I mean. Now, I am not the type to hang around in the friend zone and wait for somebody to fall in love with me. That's not who I am. Because I'm a grown up and I can handle myself when I have feelings for somebody that doesn't reciprocate. In fact, one of my longest friends, it's been like 5 years now, I think. We've been there. I've had feelings and they've come and gone. And I'll let those feelings go because I value this man's friendship and I really don't want to lose that. But he's one of very few men that actually wants to be in my company. One of my friends is very autistic. He's a little bit on a different end of the spectrum from me, and which is part of the reason I can't have a relationship with him. But he told me flat out that he thinks I'm sexy, and that's the version of me that he likes. Men want sexy Nat, but they don't want goofy Nat. Goofy Nat is friends only, and they don't want to be my friend. The thing is, sexy Nat comes with goofy Nat. So if you don't want goofy Nat, you don't get sexy Nat. That's right. You tell him. Once more for the record, I don't sleep with men who are not my friends.
A lot of these modern women, with the way they talk, they'll try to disrespect a guy on the one hand, and then they'll expect a man to be nice to them, to be generous, to be chivalrous to them. They'll sit up here and talk like, oh, chivalry is men don't respect us and all this other stuff, after going on a 20-minute tirade about how I don't want a man talking to me. I don't want a man approaching me. I don't want to even be a man even being around me. You clown guys for simply just, there was a woman clowning a guy for him paying attention to his environment. There was another woman just on the internet clowning a man for being nice. I think he said something to the effect of, oh, you know, because he was like, man, you seem like you ain't never really nice to me. Well, you know, I'm not nice to you, or I'm not a lover girl to you. Then who are you a lover girl with? If this is your man, if this is your boyfriend, how come you give other people besides him respect? That's confusing. And then once again, you're going to want that man to respect you, be chivalrous. Oh, can you give me your seat? Can you give me your coat? Can you pay for the dinner? Can you open my door? Can you send me flowers? The whole 9 yards. And then on national television, sit up there and tell him, oh, well, you know, I really don't mess with you like that. Bro, after you heard that, there's only one thing to do. Get up out of there.